my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Monday, January 18th, 2021. So everything's still up in the air with the whole Biden thing. There's a claim that the United States of America is dead. Now it's occupied by CHICOM with their agent, Joe Biden, which is supposed to get sworn in by this Wednesday. Him and his New World Order sidekick, George W. Bush, caramel version of George W. Bush, Kamala Harris, null and void. Okay? So, the question is this. Is it dead or down but not out? It's up to every individual here to really think about that. Like I said, it's just to be announced. It's not set in stone. But you gotta prepare ourselves. Hopefully everyone out there is listening has been doing that. Not just here within the U.S. or North America, but the rest of the world. They see the window of opportunity is shrinking. And many of the individuals out there are waking up. The late ungrateful Zbigniew Brzezinski made that warning. Geopolitically, the world is waking up. And hopefully those numbnuts, the oligarchs and all that, have taken heed. That's why the lockdown and all that trying to destroy our spirit. This is nothing more but spiritual warfare, folks. Handful of people trying to rule us all. It's been going on for millenniums. But what are you going to do? When some folks say they can't do it, that means they won't or never do. If folks out there want to go one-dimensional, pick on this topic, the other one's exceptional, that's double speak. What I witnessed today on the idiot box with the whole Black Lives Matter, with the communist fist in the air and praising Martin Luther King. You're letting the subversified group say he was a communist, Martin Luther King. There's some claims on that, and I did a little homework on it myself. And I'm not jumping to conclusions towards this man by any means. And the funniest thing, too, when ESPN, for an example, did the little film shoot, the little presentation on this whole Martin Luther King and talking about Lyndon B. Johnson, which, he was a great racist. He hated black people. He used derogatory for the Negroes term. All right? Use it consistently. That's okay, because he signed the Civil Rights Act of 1965, called exceptionalism. Don't fall for the trap. I prefer everyone to start reading some of the material from the late, great Dr. Walter Williams. Then his subversified movements and his idiotic mainstream garbage media shows. That's all they are to me. Some people understand now. I don't get mad, I laugh. You know why? I haven't been played. We've all been swindled one way or the other. But when you learn the system, you laugh at it. You know why most people don't want to talk about politics and religion? Because they are really poor at it. Remember that. Got paper activists thinking they're doing the cause, they're being used. Because they listen to some synthetic speakers that are funded by multinational corporations, including technocrats. See, that's important natural rights. Like I said before, I don't want to be redundant. And people who heard my show for a long time understand where I'm coming from. I'm not going to digress it. If I'm doing it right now, forgive me, folks. There are times you got to always examine things a lot more thorough than what they present. Read between the lines. verify. And always beware of these subversive organizations. There are a bunch of quacks out there. They know who they are. And I love it when they call this one, transgender gypsy. Called out Charles Schumer. Called him a socialist, anti-Semite. Yeah. And she's right. That individual is spot on. If you believe being anti-Semitic is going after the Jews, you failed. Anything that's considered Middle Eastern descent. Hebrews, Venetians, Arabs. I forgot the other one, forgive me, or Sumerians. It's a good amount of them, 4 or 5 groups that's considered Semites. Do a little homework, friends. I encourage it. And it's okay to share this stuff with me. I really do appreciate it. Because my goal is not saying I know more than you. I'm still learning. And we could educate each other. That's always been my platform. And there's folks out there who do have their viewpoints. And I appreciate it. Agree with me or not, that's cool. But name calling, that means you're hot air. Being constructive, yeah, it's good. You never know. There's people I disagree with. We have a great conversation. And we show homage to one another. So, this is why when they say about the United States is dead, according to Infowars.com, is it the Republic or the corporation is dead? Always think about that. 1871 Act. Well, one thing I tell you is this, folks. The spirit shall never die. And that will be it on my rant. So, I had to saw a couple articles. I just was like, perfect timing to do a few here. This one came from Heavy.com. I love the title. Pennsylvania woman stole Pelosi's laptop to sell it to Russians, according to the feds. This is by Jessica McBride. Riley Williams is a Harrisburg, Pennsylvania woman accused of stealing a laptop or hard drive from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office during the Capitol riots and plotting to sell it to Russians, according to the FBI. A complaint affidavit filed by FBI Special Agent Jonathan Lund on January 17th says that Riley June Williams has fled. According to local law enforcement officers in Harrisburg, Williams' mother stated that Williams packed a bag and left her home and told her mother she would be gone for a couple of weeks. She also deleted her social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, Telegram, and Parler. The affidavit said, oh really? And changed her phone number sometime after January 6th. She is now charged with crimes in the Capitol riots, accused of both entering the Capitol building without lawful authority to do so and engaging in disorderly conduct, according to the affidavit. ITV reported that Williams was wearing a t-shirt emblazoned with the All Right slogan during her riots. Her mother told the television station her daughter had become interested in the America First movement. She's definitely not a leader, her mother, Wendy Williams, told ITV. I just think I know there was another woman beside her also doing it. I think she was like, they're letting us up, they're laying us up, let's go. She's a 22-year-old who, like I said, she's very empathetic and loving. The criminal complaint paints a more complicit picture of Williams. Here's what you know. Number one, Williams took a recent interest in President Trump's politics and far-right message boards. The complaint affidavit links to the above video Todd revealed. ITV news identifies protesters who stormed the Capitol. In that video, the reporter identifies Riley Williams as a person depicted in the snippets of the prior ITV video. The affidavit says the reporter then interviewed a woman who identified herself as Williams' mother and showed her some type of video footage. Williams' mother then stated that she recognized her daughter inside the Capitol building and that her daughter has taken a sudden interest in President Trump's politics and far-right message boards. She claimed that Williams took off, is gone, and waiting for law enforcement to come to Williams and ask her about her activities in the Capitol. Number 2, a former romantic partner of Riley Williams contacted the FBI, the complaint says. Really? In the days following the January 6, 2021 riots, a witness made several phone calls into the FBI's tip line related to the Capitol attack, U.S. Capitol attack. In them, the caller stated that she was the former romantic partner of Riley June Williams, according to the affidavit. The informant said Williams was depicted in the video footage taken on January 6, 2021 from inside the U.S. Capitol building. The informant said Williams can be seen directing crowds inside the U.S. building up a staircase. The informant directed the police to the above YouTube link for the IT video. The informant also claimed to have spoken to friends of Williams who showed the informant a video of Williams taking a laptop computer or hard drive from Speaker Pelosi's office. Oh, really? 3. William planned to sell the device to Russia's foreign intelligence services, the complaint alleges. According to the informant, Williams intended to send the computer device to a friend in Russia, then who planned to sell the device to SVR, Russia's foreign intelligence service. The informant told the FBI that the transfer of the computer device to Russia fell through for unknown reasons and Williams still has the computer device or destroyed it. This matter remains under investigation. The affidavit said authorities reviewed the YouTube video called Storming the Capitol, the Inside Story. About 20 minutes and 40 seconds into the video, there appears at the bottom of the staircase the subject believed to be Williams, a Caucasian female wearing a green t-shirt and brown trench coat and carrying a black and white striped zebra print bag over her shoulders. The affidavit adds she has brown shoulder-length hair and wearing eyeglasses. She is wearing a black face mask below her chin, around her neck. She can be heard in the video repeating, yelling, upstairs, 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 and can be seen physically directing other intruders to proceed up a staircase. The video also shows a stream of intruders walking up to a nearby staircase. 2 sample screenshots of that YouTube video appeared below. 4. The complaint accuses Williams of directing intruders toward Pelosi's office. The complaint affidavit says that the officer confirmed with U.S. Capitol Police that the staircase depicted in the video does in fact lead to Speaker Pelosi's office. The affidavit continues, I also reviewed the maps of the interior areas of the U.S. Capitol and confirmed the subject appears to have been in an area near the crypt, sometimes referred to as a small house rotunda. In the audio of the ITV news video, the reporter states that the recording took place near the U.S. Capitol building are called the crypt. In the background, a bust of Winston Churchill is visible behind the subject, which is also consistent with the location of the small house rotunda. Interesting. Why do you have Winston Churchill in the back, right? They don't want Confederate soldiers, but they want Winston Churchill. I'll just carry on here. The maps confirm that there's a nearby staircase which leads to the office of the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. The affidavit adds I have reviewed other images the FBI obtained that were taken during the January 6, 2021 civil unrest inside the U.S. Capitol building. Set forth below is a photograph that also depicts the Williams inside the U.S. Capitol building, pointing and directing intruders. She is wearing the same green t-shirt and brown trench coat. I believe that the photograph below was taken in statuary hall inside the U.S. Capitol building. 5. Williams went with her father to Washington for the protest. The officer wrote in the complaint about having spoken with local law enforcement agents in Harrisburg about the recent interactions with Williams' parents. According to those officers, on January 11, 2021, local law enforcement received a suspicious persons report filed by Williams' mother. Officers interviewed the mother, who said the suspicious person was assumed to be the informant, according to the affidavit. But the officers presented Williams' mother placed a video call to her daughter. Officers observed Williams on her mother's cell phone screen and noted that Williams was wearing a brown colored jacket consistent with the screenshots above. According to the Harrisburg officers, on January 16, 2021, they again spoke with Williams' mother, who told them that a British media crew had come to her home the night before, asking to speak with Williams, who was not present, the affidavit said. Harrisburg officers called Williams' father in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, who said he drove to Washington, D.C. with Williams for the protest on January 6, 2021. He stated that his daughter and he did not stay together throughout the day, and that Williams was meeting up with other individuals she knew at the protest. Williams later met up with her father outside the U.S. Capitol building, and they returned home to Harrisburg together, according to the affidavit. Pretty interesting article, right? Looks like they may have found a scapegoat or a patsy. Because if you actually look at some of the other stuff, there are some actually masked individuals that people thought they were Antifa and they weren't. The big claim they went in and seized Nancy Pelosi's laptop. I'm not saying she didn't go in or anything like that, but it's a strong accusation right now. She could be the fall guy on this whole ordeal. Always got to question these things, folks. What we're seeing right now, things are coming to light, little by little, thanks to technology, citizen journalists, etc. It was never an insurrection. It was never worst thing day since Pearl Harbor. It was an inside job. It was infiltrated. And even if you all you gotta do is watch those other citizen videos, you'd be surprised. It was done by design. And some of the Trump haters will despise that term, but I could care less, with all due respect. Always question the official narrative, how authentic it is, the accuracy. To be very frank, I'm not really buying it. All right, in good faith, if she was there, that's fine. But if she's the prime suspect of allegedly seizing Nancy Pelosi's laptop, I'm just wondering if it could be a decoy. It's possible. Sell it to the Russians? Nah. Big farce, as far as I'm concerned. That's how I look at it. I don't know about you. Give me your input. I'm going to look at it a little bit more, but always beware, folks. Question everything. All right, well, the next one here came from Zero Hedge. Trident Durden wrote this. Biden plans 10-day blitz of executive orders to reverse greatest damages of Trump administration. President-elect Biden plans a 10-day blitz to reverse the gravest damages of the Trump administration, beginning with the flood of first-day executive orders presidential memoranda and directives to cabinet agencies, according to a weekend memo by Biden Chief of Staff Ron Klain to the White House advisors. This is from a tweet from Alex Panetta. And it's interesting here. It says, Biden Chief of Staff sent out the memo previewing dozens of executive orders he'll sign in the first days of office to attack four crises: COVID-19, economic crisis, the climate crisis, and racial equity crisis. All right. Yeah. Ain't that nice, folks? And of course, day one, rejoicing the Paris Accord and reversing the travel ban. So, interesting, right? Racial equity crisis. Because everyone's angry, the mainstream media is brainwashing people, we can have your communist fist in the air, which is equivalent to the Caesar salute. Oh yeah, if you guys get offended by that, my heart bleeds. We'll support one group of tyrants but not the other. We're exceptional. We're hypocrites, man. Absolutely. This New World Order hack is going to do those things. All hail to globalism. Chip, chip, hooray. Chip, chip, hooray. Right? Her conformity on parade, of course. And it says here, in his first 10 days in office, President-elect Biden will take decisive actions to address these four crises, prevent other urgent and irreversible harms, and restore America's place in the world, wrote Klain. President-elect Biden will take action not just to reverse the gravest damages of the Trump administration, but also start moving our country forward into a one world order network. That's my take, by the way. Biden will begin around a dozen executive actions on Wednesday, Inauguration Day, according to Bloomberg, which will include measures to address the COVID-19 pandemic, an extension of student loan forbearance beyond July 31st, and an extension to the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. Wow, so they're going to do all that with the stroke of a pen. Could we say centralization 101? In addition, Biden will issue a 100-day masking challenge requiring the wearing a face mask on federal property and for interstate transportation. Wow, that's like something new under the sun, right? Please. So yeah, you want to wear a mask for interstate transportation, supposedly. Well, I gotta read what this clown have to say. The other 10-day Blitz items include presidential directives on safely reopening schools and businesses, after Democrats spent much last year insisting they remain closed. This week after the inauguration, Biden will take additional action to buy American provisions in federal purchasing and on criminal justice, climate, science, and health care matters. Klain said he'll overturn Trump's border enforcement policies and set up a process to reunite migrant children to the Trump administration separated from caregivers after they cross into the USA. Could we say, yes, human trafficking? Bring it in. I love the Club of Rome. The Klain memo also made clear that Biden's agenda will require robust congressional action. Biden will propose at least one significant piece of legislation on his first day, an immigration overhaul to create a path to citizenship for so-called dreamers, undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Yes, the Club of Rome continues. Abraham Lincoln done that. Remember, folks, with the Irishmen. Become instant citizens and join the Union Army. Yeah, fast track, baby. Hey, you're a merited hack. Sign here. You'll get here's your homage on a silver platter, or make it golden, by the way. All right. Additionally, Biden's agenda includes a $1.9 trillion COVID and economic relief package along with bills on minimum wage, violence against women, and voting rights, according to Klain. Wow. So he's gonna... So I bet you all this here, all these little packages and bills are nothing more than crap-tuned. Pretty titles, blasphemous fine print. That's right. Your Lord and Savior, to the handful that voted for this treasonous douchebag, 47-year political hack that loves pro-big government tyranny and wakes up in the morning, have his loved ones sing him, God bless the Patriot Act. Thank you, Joseph. And the invasion of Iraq. Throw his old pus bag posterior on the front line back if he wants to go to war with another country. Let's see how tough he is. That's right. That is Joe Biden for you. And you can take his sidekick, Nolan Void, Kamala Harris with them. Huey and Dewey. Okay? Yes, right. Unmerited hacks. And talking to the guy who's not even a Trump lover, for goodness sakes. Talk about a constitutional crisis? Man, you ain't seen nothing yet. Oh, yeah. Let's use one another. Come on, bellboy. Joseph. Yes, master. The hidden hand is controlling him big time. Same thing with Kamala Harris. Well, I'll tell you this, folks. Expect federal overreach. What James Madison warned us about in Federalist Papers 46. Always question these things again. I didn't even vote for Biden or endorse him because he sucked at his job. That's right. I'm being very blunt. Same with Kamala Harris. She's a piss poor oathbreaker herself. I see these dingbats having their stickers and flags and praising he's such a great man because they hate one person. See, you just failed. You just failed your obligations as a citizen. You need to pack your things, burn your registration card, and and let the watch you know, hey, I'm leaving because I suck at my duties. And I'm a little bit blunt right now, folks, but like I said before, if people are buying this, there's plenty of Kool-Aid available. And have a portrait of Jim Jones behind you that he's my Lord and Savior. All right, well, enough of that. All right, I'm going to do one more here. This is essential, and I have to agree. It says here, this is from the organicprepper.com, does the West actually care about their Uighur genocide in China, or is a handy excuse for conflict? Let's just say what they have to say. Here is by Robert Wheeler. While the United States is busy showing signs of imploding, all eyes are focused on the Capitol protests, the presidential inauguration, and the peril exit ceremony. But there are other things happening in the world that are showing the signs of apparent looming collapse, not just of the United States, but the rest of civilization itself. While the West, if it does indeed want to survive into the future, is going to have to claw back its manufacturing sector and domestic supply chain from China, there are growing concerns that Western countries are more interesting in the idea of some type of confrontation with China, economic, military, or both, that could result in disaster for all involved. Canada has accused of China of genocide. One such example is the road between China and Canada that is taking place after the Canadian House of Commons subcommittee has accused the Chinese government of genocide in regards to its treatment of Uighur Muslims. As John Paul Tasker writes for CBC, The committee reports tabled Wednesday says that China's persecution of this Muslim minority through mass detention and concentration camps, forced labor, state surveillance, and population control measures. It is a clear violation of human rights and is meant to eradicate Uighur culture and religion. The committee said that it agrees with the experts who say China's campaign against Uyghurs meet the definition of genocide set out in the 1948 Genocide Convention. Zhao Lijian, a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, said today that the so-called genocide is a rumor and a farce fabricated by some anti-Chinese forces to slander China. Its groundless statement is full of lies and disinformation, he said. The committee report warning paramilitarians to avoid doing any further damage to China-Canada relations. It is blatant interference in China's internal affairs and reflects those Canadians, individuals' ignorance and prejudice. China firmly deplores and rejects that. The subcommittee on international human rights, chaired by Liberal MP Peter Fonseca, heard from witnesses who survived the concentration camps China has built to suppress Muslims living in this oil-rich northwestern province. Committee witnesses described deplorable conditions that they were psychologically, physically, and sexually abused and subjected to forced assimilation and indoctrination into the dominant Chinese culture. Asked about the camps, Zhao insisted they are vocational training and educational centers where religious extremists are educated in the national common spoken and written language, legal knowledge, vocational skills, and de-radicalization. The aim is to eliminate the root cause of terrorism and extremism, he said. The Commons Committee also concluded that Chinese Communist officials have forcibly sterilized Uighur women and girls and pushed abortion and intrauterine contraceptive devices, or IUDs, on hundreds of thousands in a systematic attempt to persecute and possibly eradicate Uyghurs. Witnesses also told committee members about a poverty reduction measure implemented by Beijing that forced Uyghurs into camps and performed slave labor, making products that were to be sold in Canada and other Western nations. A recent report titled Uyghurs for Sale by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute found that thousands of Muslims have been used as forced labor in factories that supply companies like BMW, Nike, and Huawei, okay, among others. The Chinese government, for its part, denies the existence of internment camps and claims only that it offers education and vocational training. But what kind of vocational centers are focused solely on extracting ingrained cultural and religious beliefs, if not re-education camps? Clearly, the Chinese government is heavily focused on re-educating Uyghur minorities into a desirable hive mind of that the Chinese government believes should be the proper mode to perfect Chinese person. What's happening in China? But while Western press and Western governments present Chinese Uyghurs as a helpless minority who are being violently repressed by the Chinese government for reasons of racism alone, the reality is somewhat different. As Brandon Turbeville writes in an article, from Syria to Asia to Russia, a terror network organized by NATO and Turkey. The most obvious culprit behind the Uyghur separatist movement in Xinjiang, if for no other reason that its past history and current involvement in destabilizations across the world, is of course the United States. After all, the United States has invested geopolitical interest in the destabilization of China and has been involved with a number of color revolutions and separatist movements in the past, including the ongoing Umbrella Revolution and the Tibet separatist movement in China alone. Destabilization in Xinjiang is yet another Western-backed movement designed to keep the Chinese economic powerhouse under control. For instance, the World Uighur Congress, as an international organization of exiled Uighur groups that allegedly represents the collective will of the Uighur people, is nothing more than a Western NATO front group. The WUC is directly funded by the U.S. Department through the National Endowment for Democracy. On record, the NED provides the WUC with over $250,000 every year. The NED is responsible for organizing the WUC events and for the cost of undoing so. Their annual meetings involve a number of Uighur groups who come together with a host of Western officials, businessmen, and influence peddlers who attended to reaffirm their solidarity with the WUC Uighur cause. For instance, the WUC is one of the nonviolent opposition to Chinese occupation. It states, it was on his website, the WUC declares a nonviolent and peaceful opposition movement against Chinese occupation of Eastern Turkestan and unconditional adherence to the international accepted human rights standard as laid down by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and adherence to the principles of democratic pluralism and rejection of totalitarianism, religious intolerance, and terrorism as an instrument of policy. Yet it claims to the opposite. The U.S. of violence, the WUC regularly justifies that violence or, at the very least, refuses to condemn it. As Tony Carlucci writes in his own article, Turkish Uighur Terror, Inc., America's Other Al-Qaeda. Perhaps the most appalling example of when it was failed to condemn the 2014 brutal murder of prominent Uighur IM, 74-year-old Jum Tahir, in front of China's biggest and oldest mosque. WUC would denounce him as a tool of the Chinese government and even go so far as denounce China for sentencing his killers. Uighur terrorists to death, horrific murder. Oh yeah. Clearly, WUC not only finds it impossible to denounce terrorism, it willfully serves as a rhetorical cover for it. So what's really happening here? The truth is always hard to get at, but the two apparently opposite viewpoints that China is forcibly interning and re-education Uyghurs, and that the Western intelligence apparatus is using that minority community as a method of weakening and stressing the Chinese government, are not mutually exclusive. The truth is that both statements can be true at the same time. Even the Chinese government does not deny that these camps exist, and Western governments are openly in support of Uyghur extremist terrorism. So, where are we heading? Clearly, the West does not care any more of Uyghurs than it does any of the people it routinely bombs overseas. Neither does the Chinese government have any interest in helping its minority population finding meaningful employment. The rollover of the treatment of Uyghurs has to do more with geopolitical concerns as the two world powers combine the shells of West versus China, slowly marching towards some type of major confrontation. Whenever that confrontation takes shape of economic warfare or direct military conflict, world civilization cannot handle warring superpowers in the age of nuclear weapons, technological dependency, and a world economic depression. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the situation? Is the West really concerned about the well-being of the Uighur Muslims, or are they just looking for a handy reason for conflict with China? It's interesting. It looks like both sides, the bobbleheads, the rogue elements from both sides, want political power. Try to tell other people how to think, how to manage. And if you study government, folks, it's been done on both sides. I want to talk about the Holocaust in Germany, which is, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm praising it, but, You don't hear about the other side how many other Germans were slaughtered or left to die after the occupation. You don't hear about that, right? Many of you don't. But you can look it up. It's very disturbing. See, they like to use us as pawns of the game. Okay? Doesn't matter what side you're on, where you're at. They only use us as their little go-to folks. But the fact is this. Who's going to benefit if this happens, Lord forbid? I know one thing for sure, the banksters will get their rocks off on it. They will climax to the core. But in reality, the rank and file will suffer dearly. Do you want... I can see the Uighur Muslims live in peace too. There's some good folks out there that I'm convinced they're getting tortured. Why? It's government. Like I said before, in Latin means control of the mind. And government are the most murderous institutions in history. All you gotta do is do a little homework. Good book to read. Death by Government by the late R.J. Rummel. Just type in Death by Government. You'll find a website on that too, which has been kept up. I could thank the University of Hawaii for let it remain. Very powerful. It's called Conformity. Conformum. Yeah, I'm convinced genocide's happening over there. I'm convinced. Here's this, folks. We are standing on blood regardless where you're at. The world's standing on blood. The human race is doing it right now as we speak, including myself. Regardless of location. But you pray for the Uighurs too. And everyone else who's been victims of tyranny to that extreme. That's my thought on it. And that will be it. I'd like to thank you for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to Decorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. And if you want to contact me, you can hit me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com or LokiLuckNumbers03 at ProtonMail.com. If you want to do a donation, you can hit me at PayPal.me or Cash.app/LokiLuck3. These other sites I have addressed. I'm not crazy about the whole heavy thing.com. But if you want to do a donation to the sites I narrated, I'll be greatly appreciated. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.